Scoven was taken aback. He had always viewed Ghislain as reckless, but to demand command in the midst of a battlefield where lives were at risk was more than Scoven had expected. Standing firm, Scoven denied Ghislain's request, explaining that the authority given by the Lord was not something to be easily given up. Ghislain, though annoyed, understood that he might have reacted similarly if an inexperienced person had approached him with such a demand. As he pondered this, an orc charged at him. Scoven yelled for Ghislain to fall back, insisting he was too inexperienced to lead the squad. With no other option, Ghislain took a stand. What happened next shocked everyone. He threw his sword. Scoven instinctively dodged the flying weapon and turned to grab Ghislain, demanding an explanation. Before he could finish his sentence, a noise behind him caught his attention. He turned to see Ghislain's sword lodged in the orc's skull, causing the creature to fall silently to the ground, struck in its weak spot with precision. Scoven, amazed, asked how Ghislain had achieved such accuracy. Ghislain, unfazed, told the commander that morale was crucial for victory on the battlefield, noting that soldiers paralyzed by fear could not hope to succeed. Scoven looked at the trembling men, their resolve shaken by the orcs' menacing roars. With a confident grin, Ghislain proclaimed that they needed to take advantage of the moment. Without hesitation, he dashed forward, retrieving his sword from the fallen orc's head before jumping into the fray. Ghislain landed directly on another orc, plunging his blade deep into its skull. The soldiers gasped as he stood atop the creature, shouting at the top of his lungs, taunting the remaining orcs and vowing to defeat them all. The orcs focused their rage on Ghislain, but he remained unfazed as he slashed at the stomachs of 2 oncoming orcs and chopped off the arm of a third. As he fought through the chaos, heads fell and blood sprayed. Scoven observed from afar, astonished. Even as a proficient mana user, he found it difficult to face orcs with such effectiveness. Yet here was Ghislain, a seemingly delicate young man, skillfully dispatching the creatures with incredible accuracy. As the battle wore on, Scoven noticed Ghislain's fatigue. His movements became smaller and more calculated as he conserved energy while dodging attacks. Each blow was aimed at the orc's vulnerable spots with precision. Scoven realized that Ghislain was fighting like a master swordsman, relying on his honed skills and instincts rather than mana. Ghislain taunted the orcs as he evaded them, ridiculing their warrior reputation and claiming he was just getting started. However, the sight of the charging orcs left Ricardo stunned. A soldier next to him pointed out that Ghislain was retreating. Despite his bravado, Ricardo called out to Scoven in concern. Scoven struggled to grasp Ghislain's strategy. He recognized the cleverness in drawing the orcs' attention, but the direction Ghislain was heading confused him, as it led straight to a cliff. Suddenly, the realization struck Scoven, and he quickly commanded his troops to form a shield wall and prepare to follow their young master. At the cliff's edge, Ghislain braced himself against the orcs' relentless assaults, silently hoping that Scoven, being a skilled commander, would understand his intentions. Although he wished he could take down the orcs himself, his dwindling stamina made that impossible. With a slight smile, Ghislain reassured himself that he had done enough. At that moment, the orcs turned to face the approaching soldiers. The sight of Scoven and his men, ready with their spears and forming a strong shield wall, made the orcs hesitate. Ghislain, noticing this, grinned and declared the timing to be perfect. Without a moment's thought, he jumped off the cliff. As soon as Ghislain was out of sight, Scoven commanded the soldiers to push the orcs over the edge. The troops charged forward, shouting as they thrust their spears into the creatures. Overwhelmed, the orcs were pushed off the cliff one by one, their large bodies falling to the ground below and staining the area with blood. The soldiers stood in shock, amazed at their victory over the orcs. With the battle concluded, Scoven hurried to the edge of the cliff and called out for Ghislain. To his relief, he saw his young master clinging to the cliffside, his sword stuck in the rock. Ghislain, panting heavily, offered a weak smile to the commander. Scoven, feeling relieved, reached out his hand to help him up. Unfortunately, Ghislain's exhausted state caused his grip to falter. Just as he was about to grasp Scoven's hand, he lost his hold, letting go of the sword and falling into the abyss. Scoven and the soldiers watched in horror. The scene then shifted to a hazy memory. Ghislain heard a familiar voice calling to him, instantly recognizing it as Elena's. Memories of his sister flooded back to him, her tears when their mother died, her gratitude for his care, and the harsh words she once said, expressing her hatred for him. As these memories replayed, Ghislain felt a pull and saw Elena as a young girl, asking to accompany him. Awakened by a vivid vision, Ghislain opened his eyes to find himself in a room with a cloth resting on his forehead. He realized that the soldiers had rescued him, and a sense of relief washed over him. However, The oddity of the dream lingered in his mind. As he attempted to sit up, pain overwhelmed him, causing his body to tremble from the effort. While he lay there, the door swung open, and a maid with white hair entered. Her name was Belinda, and she radiated joy at seeing Ghislain awake. Placing a bucket on the table, she expressed her concern and reminded him that she had advised him to let the soldiers handle the battle. To her surprise, Ghislain suddenly lunged forward and embraced her tightly. Belinda was taken aback by his unexpected gesture and asked if she had upset him in any way, but Ghislain reassured her that he was simply glad to see her. Belinda had been his personal tutor since childhood and had remained by his side despite his childish behavior. However, after the Perdium family fell into ruin in his previous life, she had disappeared, and he never saw her again. Confused by his unusual reaction, Belinda questioned why he was so happy to see her when they met every day. Ghislain felt compelled to share the truth with her. He urged her to listen closely and revealed that a disaster was about to befall their family. Unsure of what he meant, Belinda pressed him for more details. With a serious look, Ghislain explained that he had died and returned to life. Belinda laughed, thinking he was exaggerating due to his recent near-death experience with the orcs. Ghislain clarified that he wasn't talking about the recent battle, but Belinda dismissed his claims, instead advising him to focus on his own safety. Feeling that Ghislain was not being believed, he became frustrated. Belinda then changed the topic and inquired about what he would do if he were too hurt to go to the upcoming festival. This question surprised Ghislain. Belinda reminded him that his sister, Elena, had been looking forward to attending the festival with him, highlighting that it was a great chance for them to repair their troubled relationship. Ghislain looked at a photo of himself with his sister, reminiscing about the annual festival that took place at this time. In his past life, his trauma had prevented him from enjoying it. He asked Belinda when the festival was set to start, and she informed him it would be next week, a date that was significant to Ghislain. A week from now marked the day that changed his life forever. While he was deep in thought, someone walked into the room, and Ghislain was taken aback to see Elena had come to visit him.